garden, in the garden, in the garden. Meet me in the Meet me in the Meet me in the garden. In the garden. Of Eden. Of Eden. In the garden. Meet me in the garden, in the garden, in the garden, of Eden, of Eden. Meet me in the garden. Cement. The garden. Cement. Meet me in the cement, 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 meet me in the cement. Meet me in the garden of cement. Hello, 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 hello. And turn that echo down. Turn that echo down, and let's meet for a minute. I feel as though I'm so far away. So I had tried to hook up a mic the other week, but I need to spend some more time with it. So we're just gonna vocode it for now. But yeah, I have some things I want to talk about. It's a brand new year. I hope everybody had a fantastic year. And promises looking into the new year that it'll be filled with great things and positivity and so much light. We got to focus on those things, you know, because if we can't manifest that for ourselves, it's it's just not going to be. So we have to at least do it for ourselves. I took a trip today. I took a trip today. Um, I don't know if there's any urban explorers, or not even just urban, but explorers out there. I don't know if there's any other explorers out there. Surely there is, because I see them all the time. I've watched videos on that. I absolutely love it. Um, I really have this weird, odd fascination with abandoned places and just thinking about what was before. And so so I'd like to do a lot of video work for my own my own enterprise, just exploring and finding places to film at, and just different locations, And I've had this weird fascination with Gary, Indiana for so long, for well over a year. I've always kind of like noted it, but I went and did some exploring about a year ago, and more recently I was like, oh man, I got to get back. So, um, Gary's such a fascinating place. It's like decrepit infrastructure, right? And if anybody wants to talk about this, message me, because I love diving into this kind of shit. It's surreal. So if you've never been to Gary, Indiana, imagine the apocalypse, what that would look like in your head. That's scary. I mean, there's a couple of spots peppered in where it's like okay neighborhood, but for the most part, it's post-apocalyptic. Like it's crazy looking over there. Um, I've never seen so much abandoned shit in my life, dude. In my life, it's crazy. And the really messed up part is like they don't try and keep people out. Like there might be half a fence, but that fence is probably just broken down somewhere at the end, and they're like, whatever, because they ain't got no money. They got no money, man. So they're not gonna invest the time in fixing these places and trying to keep people out. So like literally, if you just want to be an abandoned explorer, you can go there. Like you gotta fend for yourself. I'm not saying just go to Gary, Indiana or Detroit or wherever. You have to be smart when you travel. Always, especially if you're traveling solo. Always be mindful of your surroundings. Don't take that shit for granted. Um, that's real. That's real life. There's real people out there. But at the same time, it's not always as scary as you think. Sometimes they're like, oh, people are overwhelmed, like, oh, it's such a bad place. But like you have to talk to the people and kind of see what's going on and feel it out for yourself. And always trust your gut. Always trust your gut instinct. Something doesn't feel right, trust it. But anyways, I wanted to talk a little about you get away from events a little bit, and just talk about some places and things and parts of the world that are really fascinating. So Gary's a super crazy place, right? I really love the Midwest wasteland manufacturing. It's not all wasteland, but there's like a big section between like lower Michigan and Indiana where it just got all these companies got shipped overseas, and it's just left behind, and there's no money for the state, and it's like decrepit wasteland. It's real crazy, and we should talk about it. We really should, because that's real life, and there's people living in poverty. A lot of people did leave. A lot of people have left those areas, but there are people still there, and it's a real crazy thing. Like you will go to these places like Gary, Indiana, Flint, Michigan, Detroit. I mean, I guess it depends where you are, but you'll go to some of these places, and it's like a silence that I can't even describe. You know, it's like a silence that I can't even describe. There's people there, but it's so weird. It's so weird, man. So Gary, Indiana was founded on steel, right? So there was a time when they had over 200,000 residents, and now they're sitting at about what did I see? What was it? Like 68,000. So that's a decline of probably like 60% plus. So what happened was, they were big in the steel industry, and Gary Works was formed, and it was huge. It was prosperous in the 1950s, and then at some point it became cheaper to ship all of that work overseas. So they lost a lot of work and they lost a lot of workers. And Gary Works is still in production today, but it's nothing like it was. And I get so fascinated. I mean, I can't describe to you because I didn't live that life. You know, right? This is just my own little research and like tidbits that I picked up. So do your own research, you know, but it's so fascinating. And if you ever there's a lot of like YouTube explorers. So look up Gary, Indiana sometime. It's fucked up, man. It's a fucked up place. But if you're into that sort of thing and you're kind of like for educational purposes, you want to learn more, I highly recommend to check it out. There's a lot of information out there. There's also a lot of misinformation out there. So you know you gotta kind of play it by ear. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is a lot of that video and that video was made very on the fly. Like I did very little editing. It probably could have been way better. But that video was made today from a lot of scenes from Gary. There's a couple scenes from like other days and stuff. But the church, the fucked up church, the Garden of Eden, that is from Gary. And I won't reveal the location. Like if you go to Gary and you find that on your own, that's great. But I'm not gonna reveal the location. I just think that's something that people need to find out on their own. And if you've kind of tuned in Overmorrow and you've seen Altar Splicer, that's another one that was filmed in Gary, Indiana. Just because I love it, and it's a really cool place if you want to feel kind of post-apocalyptic, and you've been playing a lot of Resident Evil. Shout out to Dahlia. Oh, what else was I gonna say? Yeah, yeah. So, you know, and Gary's so weird too. Like back in the day, like I said, they were a prosperous city. Michael Jackson's from there. The Jackson Five, they're from Gary, Indiana. It's wild. So at one time they were a really prosperous city, but it's just not that way anymore. And they have a crumbling infrastructure, they have huge social problems, poverty, crime. It's sad. It's really sad. I guarantee it's like nowhere you've ever been in your life. I think that's why I keep going back to it. You know, I like to travel. I'll go anywhere, road trip, you name it. But I keep going back to Gary because it's so fucked up to me. And you ever feel like the more fucked up something is, the more you want to try and understand it? It's like a weird psychology. So and then I try to be, mindful of filming in places like that because sometimes people don't like that, and you have to be mindful and respectful of the folk that you're dealing with, and it's just something I try and keep in mind. But I'll always try and keep chasing art, and hopefully people can understand that too. Like the church in that video is so beautiful, and I hope it can be, even though it's disheveled, I hope it can be preserved for what it is, an abandoned ruin that's so beautiful and overgrown with greenery and graffiti art and people wanting to put their art onto it. Hopefully it doesn't get decayed or destroyed. Well, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm a day late because of New Year's. So wanted to get one in though. Hey, if these glasses made you nauseous, I apologize. Because I looked at myself in the mirror yesterday before I went out for New Year's and I was like, ugh, I can't even look at myself because these glasses make me nauseous. So that being said, thanks for sticking with me.